Welcome to Talking Live. I'm Dr. Robi Ludwig right here in Starshop Studio in Times Square. And thank you for joining us during Women Empowerment Week. And we have two very special guests to introduce you to who help run a very important transitional home for the homeless women in New York City called The Dwelling Place. It's actually been around for a long time. We're going to learn a little bit more about the Dwelling Place and what makes it so special. Sister Joanne, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
You are the director. It sounds like you're like a one-man band.
No, it's a team of us.
It's a team.
Right.
Okay.
It's a team.
So you are the director.
Correct. Or the administrator. Sometimes they call me. Yes.
Tell me a little bit about what the Dwelling Place is and what makes it so special.
Okay. Well, the Dwelling Place, it's a transitional residence or shelter. We're located at 409 West 40th Street. It was founded back in 1977 by the Franciscan Sisters of Allegheny. And I believe you have a picture of the first five
From Way
founders.
Back Wednesday, we thought it was great to show the original sisters who actually founded the Dwelling Place. Let's get that picture up. Yep, we can see it right there.
Okay, well, 4 of them were nurses, and the other was a social worker at a hospital nearby. And they used to watch the homeless women come and dig through their garbage looking for food, and it just really broke their hearts. And at that time, there was lots of places in the city for homeless men to find shelter, but very few for women.
So why do you think that is?
Well, I think because women kind of kept in the shadows. You know, men could go even to flop houses and things like that and find a place. But for women, they were more frightened being on the street, and they needed a safe place, so they hid kind of. And they would come out, and the sisters would watch them looking for food. And then their congregation asked them, the sisters, to think about what more we could do to help the poor in whatever area they lived. And they said, we know, we want to start a shelter to help these women. And so they got permission from their congregation to start the shelter. They had to find their own funding and their own building. They found a building through the Archdiocese of New York, and they got their initial funding at the 9th Avenue Street Fair, $300 by setting up a booth to do that. And actually, we're going to be at the street fair in 2 weeks. So if people want to meet us, they can come and visit us there.
Oh, that's great.
But that's where they got their initial funds, along with lots of help from caring volunteers.
And speaking of volunteers, Marion, you are a volunteer at the Dwelling Place. In fact, that's how I learned about the Dwelling Place, because you are an advocate for this privately funded transitional home for women, and you felt so motivated and passionate about the work that's going on there. You really wanted everybody to know about it.
That is correct, yes. I love the Dwelling Place. I always worked with or volunteered with women. When I lived in California, I did Toby's House. When I lived in Prague, I did the International Women of Prague. But then when I moved to New York, then I really wanted to find a wonderful place, and I found the Dwelling Place. I had an interview. I had to interview with the sisters, with the 3 sisters, and so I walked there, and I didn't know what to expect, because I thought it's maybe a sterile place, like a hospital style or something, I don't know. And so then I arrived in this nice townhouse, but what's so nice in there is actually God's love is everywhere. It's so pretty in there, and the sisters made it so homey and so beautiful. There are flowers and pictures on the wall, and
we actually have a few pictures from
so colorful.
Inside the Dwelling House, just to give people a sense of what it looks like. We have some pictures of the living room.
Yes,
with
the
piano,
sister made it so beautiful. Look at the colors.
The ladies bunk and actually sleep over, and you have different themes,
right? Yes, and then it's like
different times, celebrate different times of the year. Our goal is to really make it home for the women. So they, when they first come to us, they're very frightened, often vulnerable, especially women who have had a life of their own. As we said, the face of homelessness has really been changing. And so the women that are most vulnerable when they come to us are women who thought this would never happen to them. Perhaps they lost a job, and in this economy it's very difficult to find another one, so everything spiraled downward until they ended up on the street.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a story. It's about a woman that you described, actually a woman who wanted to share her story, and there are a lot of misconceptions when it comes to homelessness, and a lot of judgments, and I think in part it's because it's very scary. In fact, when I was writing my book, Your Best Age Is Now, we dealt with the financial aspect of women taking care of their finances, and we found that a very strong fear is called the bag lady syndrome, and that's when people have fears that they're going to end up on the street. So sometimes we don't want to look at what we're afraid of because it's just too scary. But this story really struck me. And she wrote, if you suddenly find yourself homeless, what would you do? For 9 long months after I lost my home, I slept in a FedEx office. But being protected from the elements was not enough to prevent me from having a mental breakdown. Eventually, I found my way to Payne Whitney for psychiatric care. My caseworker referred me to the dwelling place. The relief I felt as having a clean bed and shower and meals, there were no strings attached, can best be described as pure joy. For the first time in more than a year, I was able to feel hope. And that's such a powerful image of what you described, offering to these ladies this safe place. And I think we should also just highlight that the home can only have 15 people at a
14,
time.
right?
14,
right.
okay.
We have 14 residents at a time.
Okay.
And they stay
they're 30 and above, right? So
they have to be 30
have to be
years
adults,
of age,
right?
Adults, and willing to live within the structure that we ask of them.
And what do you ask of them? Because there are rules in this facility.
Right. Well, the women, there's the intake process is they come, they call, and then they come for a face-to-face interview. There's no drugs, no alcohol, no violence allowed. The women have a daily schedule. They have to be out every day by 10 o'clock to be about their business.
And they actually have to go looking for jobs. They have to take responsibility for their lives.
Right. And they're accountable to us for what they're done. We have 3 case managers who work one-on-one with the women, help them set goals, and then make sure that they're really achieving their goals. Meet with them at least once a week. Check on them. How are you doing? Did you make it to here today? How'd that interview go? And all that. Sometimes you accompany them down to public assistance or wherever they need to go, just to give them some added support.
Yeah, which I'm sure they need, because by the time someone reaches, a homeless shelter, there's a lot of losses, and it's not only loss of material objects or one's job, but one's identity, one's self-esteem, and sense of self.
And that's the interesting thing when you talk to them, because I also had this wrong conception. I thought they were all alcoholics or drug addicts or something, but they're not. Most of the time, they're actually very intelligent ladies, and they lost their job or a divorce got them there, or missed business, which they went bankrupt or so. And some of them, and that's also what the dwelling place does on Wednesday evenings, they open the doors to the neighborhood. So for all the homeless ladies, and they all know, they come and you get to know them, and then you talk to them, and it's interesting stories. I met one lady, she traveled the world, and then I said, so where are you going now after dinner? And she says, oh, I'm going to the Lincoln Center. And I said, the Lincoln Center? And she said, yes, they're so nice. They let me even sometimes watch a show or something. But I cannot come in with with my bags or so. So she had a suitcase, and then the suitcase got stolen, and things like that. Can you imagine? Somebody steals. But a very, very intelligent lady. Many stories.
One of the things I'd love to see, because we had the editor-in-chief of Chicken Soup for the Soul, and one of the things that I learned earlier this week is that she really encourages women to tell their stories.
Yes.
And there is actually a place on Chicken Soup for the Soul where you can write your
Okay.
story, and they actually edit stories
Oh, wow.
that they're interested in having or keeping. And it might be a project that you want to
Yes.
bring
Yes,
to
it
the
would be
ladies,
interesting.
because I'm sure they have important stories
They
to
do.
share and
Right.
want to
Yes.
lend their voice,
Right.
because it's just too easy to feel voiceless
Right,
when
right.
you are homeless,
Yes.
and that you're not connected to anyone
Right.
who's powerful. And
Right.
maybe that's something
Yeah.
you can do, and
Right.
hopefully one of the stories will get chosen,
Yes, that'd
and
be
we can all
great.
come
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
together.
You're
I think
right.
that
That
would
would
Yes.
be great. That would
fantastic.
be great. That would be great.
And one of the things that I also read is that some of the residents who graduate
Mm-hmm.
will come back
Yes.
to visit,
Yes.
which I loved hearing.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, some come back regularly on Wednesday night for open dinner because they come back because they want to see everyone and they've made friends there.
Yeah.
We actually have 3 women who actually are on our staff now who once lived at the dwelling place.
Oh.
So
Mm-hmm.
2 that work regularly full-time and 1 who is a sub. Whenever I need her, I can call. And
That must be so empowering
Yes,
to see
to see.
the success stories,
Right,
and that they
yeah,
want to
right,
come back
yes,
and
right.
lend support
Mhm, mhm.
to people who are struggling just the
Right,
way
right.
they were.
Right.
Yes.
How long do women stay at the dwelling place?
On average, it's 6 months or a year, closer to a year, because it takes a long time to heal, first of all, from whatever the trauma
See,
was
it's
that
so
led them.
interesting that you said that,
Right.
because I'm thinking 6 months to a year is really not
No,
that
no,
long.
it isn't.
to
It
get
goes
your-
Goes
very
by
fast.
fast.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for some, we have 1 woman now who's been there since September of 2016, but she's getting close. She fought addictions and she's been sober now for over a year.
Wow.
She got the support she needed at the dwelling place and our other programs, and she's almost ready to move on to supportive housing.
I think too, what's so special is that you do not discriminate as far as religion
No,
or
no,
race.
no.
That anyone is welcome
Anyone's
to
welcome.
be considered.
Right.
But unfortunately, you don't have that much space.
No.
Right,
No,
and
that's
that's the thing.
unfortunate.
And even to keep this place up, it's very expensive.
Right.
And it
So-
has gotten more and more expensive because salaries went up. And of course, the cost of living.
Right.
And
Right.
so we as volunteers also help. We have committees. We have a fundraiser committee. So everybody's welcome to help with this one. And then we have an annual gala. So that's also, we try to fundraise and to get money in because the costs are just, even for this little place, but imagine a family for 15 people.
Right.
It's, you need a lot.
It's New York City is expensive.
It's
And
expensive.
So the residence is expensive. And
Right.
also the way that you keep the home up, it does look like a private
Yes, it
family
is a home.
Right, yeah.
So, and also what I've noticed is that you offer these ladies money management skills.
Correct.
You provide them with referrals
Yes.
for counseling.
Right.
They can get psychiatric treatment and medication if they need it. In addition to just the physical, the mental health is addressed as well.
Right.
Do you have doctors from the outside that work with the dwelling place?
we have a team from Project Renewal, which is an agency here in the city, which is a wonderful team, and we have a nurse practitioner who comes twice a week, and we call him Dr. David. But he comes especially on Wednesday nights, so he not only can serve our residents, but also the Wednesday night women who come, and they really look forward to his visits. And he is so caring with them. But he can provide them with care, medication. He refers them to other help that they need. We also have a nurse psychiatrist who comes as well, and she does counseling, or she meets the women for us and gives us advice, or refers them to the help that they need. So,
what do you notice in terms of the woman who initially comes in to the dwelling place, and then when she's ready to graduate, what does that transition look like?
Well, if you think of your image of a woman who's coming in, I remember my very first interview I sat in on, the woman was trying to be very brave and tell her story, what led her to be homeless. And all of a sudden, the tears just started to come down. And, when they first come, they're frightened. they're very vulnerable. They try to be brave, but underneath it, they're very frightened and don't know what's going to happen to them, especially if they've had their own life and lost it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just very traumatic. And then so when we invite them in, we invite them just to take time. Don't try rushing and say, oh, now I'm going to get my job tomorrow, or I'm going to find a place to live tomorrow. Just relax a bit and let yourself breathe and find out that you're cared for here, and just relax into the situation. And then slowly, when they feel comfortable, just having nourishing meals, a place to to use the bathroom, take a shower, those ordinary things that we take for granted every day. Having a safe place to sleep at night, not worrying about where you're going to be. And then after they feel comfortable, then we can gradually help them, whatever their goals are. If it's, you know, finding a job, finding housing, you just gradually see their smile more, feel more relaxed, bigger spring in their step perhaps, much more self-confidence.
So it
and
sounds
they're
like
ready.
their joy comes back slowly.
It comes back slowly, their joy, their confidence, their ability to face life again, to know that I've got gifts within me, that I'm empowered to go forth.
What requirements do you have as far as the ladies who are eligible for the dwelling place?
They have to be 30 years of age or older, drug-free and alcohol-free for at least 6 months, or in a treatment program. They have to be able to live with other women, you know, because they share space. They live in a dorm. They share bathrooms, and they have to be willing to follow the rules of the house, keep curfew, stick to their goals, you know. And so those are the rules. There's not a lot of rules. It's just basic human living.
Well, I mean, listen, it's important to have rules.
Right.
Made it so that we're
And
not in a state of chaos. And
Right.
it's probably very good in terms of helping women to regain just their own mental and physical well-being.
Absolutely.
They need structure
Structure.
and accountability. We find structure and accountability is really what helps them. In fact, sometimes when the women leave, I know one woman told me, you know, after I left, whenever I felt I was getting out of focus, I would go back to the same structure I had at the dwelling place. Get up at the same time in the morning, make sure I'm out.
Wow.
And, you know, it's just, that's what helped me keep me focused and centered.
And she was able to pull on that inner wisdom.
Right.
Just a couple of more beautiful statements from the ladies who have experienced what the dwelling place offers. One wrote, being here is a blessing. I have a real roof over my head and plenty of good food is provided. That's better than people get at my house, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, homemade food. It's homemade.
Nobody gets good food at my house. Well taken care of and treated like special people, not like homeless people.
Exactly. Yes.
Really a powerful message and point. And one lady wrote, when I wake up every morning, I thank God for this place of safety. Well, I want to thank you, ladies, for coming here and educating all of us about the dwelling place. There's information that we are going to share. So there's going to be a link to the show that can offer you information if you feel moved to be a volunteer, to donate your time and services in any way.
And treasures.
And what?
And treasures.
And treasures, right?
Really,
And treasures.
We need
because
donations.
we're privately funded,
Yes.
we really count on.
We don't get
We've
any.
survived. We've flourished for 41 years because of the goodness of others. We're privately funded, so we need grants and private donations in order to continue our work, to continue to be there.
And so we're hoping that if there are any sponsors or companies out there that want to ensure that the dwelling place survives and thrives, that you can find Sister Joanne, and if you want to volunteer, Marion's amazing, and she's very passionate at helping people find their way and letting everybody know what the dwelling place is about. We want to thank you for joining us on this special Talking Live.
Thank you, Dr. Robi.
For empowerment.
Oh, we brought you
for you.
something.
Oh,
This,
like
is
our
for you.
little.
I love the dwelling place.
The dwelling place of New York.
I love the
hearts.
ring. So here we go. I have my wonderful wristband as a reminder, just to appreciate what we have and to give back when we're in a place to do so. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
See you Monday on Talking Live.
Yes, thank you.